I died choking on my own blood, the metallic tang flooding my mouth as Jake's hands, my big brother's hands, the ones that used to ruffle my hair and promise we'd always have each other's backs, pressed the pillow down harder over my face. "It's for the family, Layla," he'd whispered, his voice cracking just enough to sound sincere, like he was delivering bad news instead of ending my life. And then, nothing. Blackness swallowing the betrayal whole, until I gasped awake in a body that felt too small, too young, staring at the same goddamn vanity mirror in my old Chicago apartment, the date on my phone screaming June 15th, 2023, 3 months before the wedding that would have been my funeral. My heart hammered like a jackhammer on Lakeshore Drive asphalt, but this time, I wasn't the wide-eyed sister footing the bill for Jake's dream day. No, this was round two, and I remembered every lie, every dollar I poured into that farce, every accidental exclusion because, yeah, apparently I outshone the groom with my success, my laugh, my mere existence. Jake had always been the golden boy, charming, aimless, leeching off mom's fading savings until I stepped in, the high-powered lawyer pulling six figures at 28. I'd bankrolled the venue, the caterers, even Emily's custom gown, all while they whispered behind my back about how I made Jake look small. Small enough to smother. I ripped off the silk robe, my reflection staring back like a ghost, me, but softer around the edges, pre-burnout, pre-betrayal. The scar from that freak kitchen accident 2 years ago?
Gone.
The faint lines from 90-hour weeks.
Erased.
Trung Sin, they call it in those trashy novels, but this was no fantasy. This was a cosmic do-over, and I wasn't wasting it on forgiveness. Jake thought he could play God with my life insurance payout to cover his debts. Oh, I'd uncovered that gem in my final moments, overhearing him and Emily plotting in the guest room. $100,000 from the policy, enough to bail out his failing bar and keep the facade of the perfect couple. But secrets like that? They fester, and mine were about to explode. I grabbed my phone, fingers flying over the screen to pull up the wedding registry I'd obsessively curated. Peonies, crystal stemware, a honeymoon in Napa, every detail screamed excess, my excess. But today? Today marked the pivot. No more enabling the monster who'd trade his sister's last breath for a clean slate. I dialed my assistant, voice steady as steel. Cancel the checks to the florist and the band. Tell them it's a family emergency. Her gasp echoed through the line, but I hung up before questions could fly. Step 1. Starve the beast. By noon, I was striding into Jake's cramped loft in Wicker Park, the air thick with stale craft beer and unfulfilled potential. He lounged on the couch in his usual rotation of band tees, Emily curled against him like a trophy. "Layla, what's with the power walk? You look like you're about to bill me for breathing." His laugh was all teeth, that salesman grin he'd honed since we were kids scraping by in our mom's double-wide after Dad bailed. Emily uncoiled, her Botox-smooth forehead creasing just a hair.
"Hey, sis.
"Everything okay with the venue deposit? We were just talking about how epic it's gonna be."
Epic."
The word twisted in my gut like a knife I'd once let him borrow. I dropped my bag on the coffee table, the thud echoing like a gavel. Epic's off the table. I'm pulling funding. Their faces blinked, synchronized shock like a bad sitcom. Jake sat up, eyes narrowing. "What the hell, Lay? You can't just." "I can and I am." I leaned in, close enough to smell his cheap cologne mixed with her vanilla perfume. "Because I know what happens next, Jake. The wedding goes off without a hitch. Except for me. No invite, remember? Too much spotlight on the maid of honor, who isn't even in the bridal party. And then, poof, I'm gone. Pillow party at the Airbnb, courtesy of you two lovebirds chasing that insurance windfall." The room went tomb silent, save for the distant honk of a CTA bus outside. Emily's hand flew to her throat, genuine pearl necklace glinting like a noose. "That's insane. You're talking murder?" "Jake would never." "Save it," I snapped, my voice a whip crack honed in deposition rooms. "I was there, Emily." Gasping, clawing at the sheets while he whispered apologies. "You were in the next room, scrolling Zillow for that beach house you'd deserve after. $100K, right?" To cover his gambling debts from that sure-thing poker league. The one where he lost Mom's heirloom ring, too. Jake's face drained of color, mottled red creeping up his neck like a rash. You're delusional. Stress from work or whatever. Layla, sit down. We'll talk this out.
Talk.
As if words could erase the choke hold of his grip. But this was America, land of second chances and savage comebacks, and I wasn't here to therapize. No talks.
No wedding.
Unless you confess right now to Mom. Every lie, every debt, every plan to erase me like a bad line item. Emily bolted up, heels clicking like gunfire on hardwood. This is blackmail. We're calling the cops. Go ahead. I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over record. Tell them how the sister who funded your fairy tale knows the exact wire transfer details to your offshore account. The one for emergencies. Or, how about the texts? She's too invested, it'll be easy. Ring any bells. Jake lunged, grabbing my wrist. Not hard, not yet, but enough to send a phantom ache racing up my arm from the memory. Let go, I hissed, yanking free. His eyes, those hazel mirrors of our shared DNA, flickered with something feral. Recognition?
Fear?
You don't get it, Lay. It's not like that. The bar's underwater. Emily's family cut her off after that DUI mess. DUI you covered up, I interjected, the secret spilling like venom. I'd buried that one deep in my first life, lawyered it away with a plea deal, because family first. But not anymore. Paid off the right people with my bonus.
And now?
It's leverage. He deflated, sinking back like a punctured tire. Emily hovered, torn between fleeing and fighting, her manicure digging into his shoulder. This was the fracture point, the first crack in their porcelain empire. But I needed more, deeper cuts, the kind that scarred souls. Give me the weekend to think, Jake muttered, avoiding my gaze.
Please.
For old times. Old times. The farm stand summers in Indiana, splitting cherry pies under firefly skies. Gone. Poisoned by greed. I nodded, sharp as a stiletto. Saturday brunch at Mom's. Bring the truth, or I bring the receipts. As I swept out, the door slamming like a vault, I felt the rush, adrenaline laced with ice-cold clarity. Revenge wasn't a dish, it was a slow roast, and I just lit the fire. Back in my apartment, the city skyline mocked me through floor-to-ceiling windows, all glittering promise and hidden rot. I poured a bourbon, top shelf, the kind Jake could never afford, and scrolled through old photos. Us at graduation, him hoisting me on his shoulders. Me at his bar opening, check in hand, beaming like an idiot. The lies had started small, borrowed cash for rent, then investments, escalating to the wedding fund I'd fronted without a blink. 80 grand, wired in chunks, because that's what sisters do. Or so I thought. But the real gut punch? The invitation that never came. A week before the big day, Emily's email. Hey Layla, space issues. Family only this time. You get it, right? Love you. Followed by Jake's radio silence. I'd shown up anyway, dolled up in emerald silk that hugged my curves like armor, only to watch from the tree lean as they exchanged vows under that floral arch I'd paid for. Outshone the Groom, they'd joked later, at the after-party. I crashed, where whispers flew like confetti. She's too much, Emily had giggled to her sorority sisters. Jake looks like the sidekick next to her. I'd laughed it off, drowned sorrows in champagne flutes, then driven home blackout drunk. That's when the accident happened, or so the cops ruled it. Car off the road into Lake Michigan, ruled a tragic loss for the rising attorney. But in the fog of dying, piecing it together in the hospital bed Jake never visited, it clicked. The tampered brakes, the anonymous tip to the valet about my drinking. All to cash in quick, before questions arose about the debts. Now, reborn, I wasn't crashing, I was commandeering. I fired off emails to my network, old law school buds, finance sharks who'd owe me favors. Dig into Jacob Harlan Reed, debts, offshore, priors. By midnight, dossiers pinged back, Jake's poker ring tied to Chicago mob fringes, Emily's inheritance from a shady uncle in real estate fraud. Secrets buried deeper than I'd imagined, a web of deceit that made my murder look like amateur hour. Sleep evaded me, chased by visions of that pillow, the muffled sobs I couldn't voice. Dawn broke gray over the loop, and I dressed for war. Pencil skirt, blouse crisp as fresh legal briefs, heels that clicked authority. Mom's bungalow in Oak Park waited, the site of our intervention brunch. She'd aged a decade in my first life since my death, guilt eating her from me inside for not seeing the cracks. This time, I'd shield her, even if it meant wielding the knife myself. Pulling into the driveway, azaleas blooming defiant against the chain-link fence, I spotted Jake's truck already there, early bird or panic mode. Mom flung open the screen door, apron dusted with flour, her smile faltering at my expression. "Ladybug, you're early." Jake's inside, looking like he swallowed a lemon. "More like a grenade," I quipped, hugging her tight enough to memorize the lavender of her skin. Inside, the kitchen hummed with normalcy. Bacon sizzling, coffee percolating, Jake hunched over the table nursing black brew. Emily was MIA, smart girl or coward. "Morning," he grunted, not meeting my eyes. Mom bustled plates, oblivious, chattering about the church picnic. I sat across from him, forks spearing eggs like enemies. "So, spill." He glanced at Mom, who paused mid-pour. "Spill what, honey?" "Everything," I said, voice even.
The debts.
The lies. How your son's been playing fast and loose with family money and lives. Mom's mug clattered, coffee sloshing like tears. Jake's jaw ticked, a tell from our poker nights. "Layla, not now."
Now.
I slid my phone across, audio file cued, a snippet from that fateful night, his voice tinny, but unmistakable. "It's clean, policy pays out double if it's accidental. She'll never see it coming." The kitchen imploded. Mom's gasp shattered the air, hand clutching her chest like a heart attack in slow motion. "Jacob Reed, what in God's name?" "It's not." He lunged for the phone, but I snatched it back, standing tall. "It is, Mom. He killed me. Or would have. But I'm giving him a chance to man up before I bury him legally." Betrayal etched her face, deeper than any wrinkle. Jake crumpled, words tumbling. The bar's loans from loan sharks, Emily's addictions funding his highs, the plan born of desperation. I didn't want to lay. You were.
You.
But we were drowning. Drowning. The word hung, heavy as the lake that almost claimed me. Mom wept silently, reaching for his hand. Still, after all, forgiveness? Maybe hers. Mine? A blade, sharpening. As sirens wailed distant, my anonymous tip to the cops about the bar's ties, timed perfectly, the real game began. Jake's empire of lies was crumbling, but mine? Just rising. And Emily? She'd slither back, claws out. Bring it. The fallout from brunch hit like a Midwest thunderstorm, swift, soaking, and impossible to outrun. Mom locked herself in her room, the lock clicking like a final judgment, while Jake stormed out cursing under his breath, tires squealing gravel as he peeled away. I stayed, brewing tea strong as my resolve, whispering through the door until she emerged, eyes puffy but stealing. "He's your blood, Layla, but you're my anchor." We hugged over the sink, dishes forgotten, the scent of bacon lingering like a ghost of innocence lost. By evening, she'd filed the restraining order I drafted on my phone pro bono, family discount, and I drove her to a motel on the outskirts, cash under the table, no traces. Word spread through our fractured family grapevine like wildfire on dry prairie, aunts texting fury, cousins picking sides. Jake's calls bombarded my voicemail. "You're ruining everything, you bitch," until I blocked him, then leaked the audio to a trusted reporter at the Tribune. Anonymous source. Local entrepreneur's dark side exposed. By morning, headlines screamed, "Chicago bar owner linked to fraud, family feud explodes." Emily, that viper, went radio silent, but I knew better. She'd circle back, fangs bared. My firm noticed the buzz, Partners pulling me into glass-walled offices. Eyebrows arched. Personal drama bleeding into work, Harlan? I smiled, all teeth. Just clearing the decks, sir. Makes me sharper.
And it did.
Days blurred into a vengeance-fueled frenzy. Depositions by day, digging by night. My contacts unearthed gold. Jake's bar wasn't just in the red. It was a front for laundering small-time bets tied to a crew out of Little Village. Emily? Her DUI was vehicular manslaughter, hushed with my cash. The victim a homeless vet whose family still scraped by on GoFundMe scraps. Guilt gnawed at edges. Had I enabled this monster? In my first life, yes, blind loyalty papering over red flags.
But now?
Knowledge was the great equalizer, and I wielded it like a Louisville slugger. Friday night, I met my PI, ex-cop named Ruiz, in a dive off Division Street. Neon-buzzed Lucky's. Ironic as hell. He slid a manila envelope across the scarred oak bar, bourbon chasers sweating condensation. Jackpot, kid. Wire transfers to a shell in the Caymans. Your sister's name on but it's your dough rerouted. And get this, prenup's a joke. She walks with half if it crashes, but clauses buried deep. He gets everything if she's incapacitated.
Sounds familiar.
Incapacitated. Like me, post-accident. My stomach roiled, but I nodded, slipping him an extra Benjamin. Tail her. I want eyes on every move. As I left, rain slicking the streets, headlights cutting fog, a chill slithered up my spine. Not fear, but the thrill of the hunt. This wasn't just payback. It was excavation, unearthing the rot I'd ignored for love. Saturday dawned muggy, humidity clinging like regret. The wedding date loomed, 3 weeks out, vendors circling like vultures. I crashed their emergency planning session at a Lincoln Park cafe, all exposed brick and overpriced lattes. Emily sat ramrod straight, blonde bob impeccable, but dark circles betrayed the cracks. Jake slouched beside her, unshaven, nursing an espresso like it was hemlock. Layla, she purred, venom sweet as saccharin. To what do we owe the pleasure? Come to gloat. Here to negotiate. I slid into the booth uninvited, signaling the barista for black coffee. Call it off. Quietly. I'll cover the cancellations, no headlines, no cops. But you spill to the families, full confession, and vanish from Chicago. Both of you. Jake snorted, but his eyes darted, cornered rat. Generous. What's the catch?
No catch.
Just survival. Lies, of course. The real play? Force their hand. Watch them squirm into mistakes. Emily leaned in, nails tapping porcelain like Morse code for murder. You think you're the hero here? Funding our life, then yanking the rug?
You're the villain, Layla.
Jealous little sister. Always stealing the show. Jealous. The accusation landed like a sucker punch, echoing their wedding day snub. In my mind's eye, I saw it again. Me and that Trilene, invisible, while they vowed eternity on my dime. Outshone the groom. The bridesmaids tittered later. Code for she's got it all. Career looks no deadweight like you. It stung then. Now it fueled me. Jealousy implies I want your scraps. I shot back, voice low thunder. But fine, play hardball. I've got the manslaughter file unsealed by Monday. Victims' kin? They're itching for justice. And Jake's mob ties? DA's office loves a flipper. Emily blanched, foundation cracking like fault lines. Jake's fist clenched, knuckles whitening. You wouldn't. Test me. The air thickened, charged as a storm front. A beat, then Emily's laugh, shrill, unhinged. You're bluffing. Always the drama queen. But okay, counsel. What's your endgame? Us groveling at your Louboutins. Truth. I stood, tossing a 20 on the table. Or total war. As I walked out, their stares bored into my back. I felt the shift, predator to prey, reversed. But controversy brewed. Whispers already swirled online. Reddit threads dissecting the toxic Harlan siblings. Aunts called torn. He's family, Layla. Forgive. Others. Good riddance to that user. The tension coiled tighter, a spring ready to snap. That night, alone in my high-rise, city lights mocking isolation, doubt crept in. Was this justice or just vengeance porn? I'd saved Mom, sure, but at what cost? A family in shards, my name muddied in society pages. I poured another drink, scrolling Emily's Insta, curated bliss, filters hiding the hollows. Then, a DM pinged. Anonymous, a grainy photo of her slipping cash to a hooded figure in an alley. Your move, the caption read. My move. Heart racing, I forwarded it to Ruiz. The web tightened, but so did the risks. Jake's crew didn't play nice. Veiled threats started. Slashed tires on my Beamer, accidental brick through Mom's window. Paranoia shadowed me. Every corner a potential ambush. Yet, I pressed on, filing motions to freeze their assets, alerting the IRS to those Cayman shells. By midweek, the wedding vendors bailed en masse, my doing, quiet calls framing it as budget cuts. Emily cracked first, showing up at my office unannounced, rain-soaked and feral. Security buzzed her up. I met her in the lobby, glass walls amplifying her desperation. Please, Layla.
He's
He's not right. The pressure, it's breaking him. Us. Empathy flickered, a traitorous spark. In my first life, I'd have folded, offered tea and tissues.
Now?
Breaking? Try dying. Her sob was real, mascara rivers. I didn't know about the pillow.
Swear.
But the money. We needed it. My uncle's estate? Tied up in lawsuits. Jake promised it'd be victimless. Victimless. The word echoed, absurd. But her eyes, wide, pleading, stirred something. A secret of her own? What aren't you saying, Em? Twist of twists, my murder plot paled next to theirs. A hidden-run cover from mob whistleblower. Proof. Flash drive. In our safe. She named the combo. Voice-breaking.
Take it.
End this. But spare Jake. He's in too deep. Spare him? The brother who'd suffocate family for a fix?
No.
But the drive? Leverage incarnate. I nodded, cold.
Go.
And disappear, like I said. She fled, a drowned wraith, leaving me with a Pandora's box and a pounding pulse. That intel was dynamite, enough to torch their world. But as I copied the files in my server, encrypted and backed, a call came. Mom, hysterical. Layla, it's Jake. He's at the bar, talking crazy. Guns, threats. I raced out, rain lashing like accusations. The bar loomed on Milwaukee Avenue, neon flickering Reed's Retreat like a bad joke. Inside, smoke-hazed chaos, patrons scattering as Jake waved a pistol, wild-eyed, ranting about betrayal. She did this. My own blood. Crew muscle flanked him, tattooed enforcers, eyes like flint. I slipped in the back, heart slamming, dialing 911 whisper low. But before dispatch clicked, he spotted me through the haze. Layla. Roar of thunder, guns swinging my way. Time slowed, deja vu crashing. The pillow, the struggle. I dove behind the bar, bottles shattering like dreams. Jake, stop. It's over. Over? You made it hell. A shot cracked, with splintering inches from my head. Sirens wailed distant, closing in. Emily burst through the door then, dramatic as a soap opera, screaming his name. Baby, no. Distraction enough. I lunged, tackling him low, the gun skittering across floorboards. We grappled, siblings locked in primal fury, his fists raining, mine blocking, years of resentment exploding. For Mom, I gasped, knee to his gut. For me. Cops stormed in, tasers popping like fireworks. He went down thrashing, Emily wailing as they cuffed her too, accessory now, thanks to the drive. I staggered up, bruised but breathing, the bar a war zone of upended stools and spilled secrets. As they hauled him away, his eyes met mine, hatred, yes, but regret flickering. Why lay? Because you broke us first. The words hung, final as a verdict. The raid on Reed's Retreat made front-page fodder. Brother-sister shootout shuts down shady saloon. Pundits on local news dissected it like a true crime pod, speculation on the jealous sibling rivalry, my calculated takedown, even whispers of my unhinged ambition. Controversy swirled, think pieces in the Sun-Times questioning if I'd gone too far for family justice. Feminists hailed me as a survivor. Conservatives decried the destruction of blood ties. I fielded interview requests from CNN embeds, dodging with no comment frost. Privacy was my new armor. But the scars? They itched under spotlights. Jake and Emily rotted in county lockup, bail denied after the feds swooped in, RICO charges on the mob angle, money laundering stacking like Jenga. The flash drive? My ace, anonymously dropped to the U.S. Attorney's Office with a bow, timestamps, ledgers, even video of the staged crash. The vet's family got their payday, a settlement from Emily's frozen assets, closure I'd stolen for myself in another life. Mom sold the bungalow, relocated to a sunny condo in Florida. Weekly calls laced with healing laughter. Proud of you, Bug. For fighting clean.
Clean? Huh.
My hands were filthy with manipulation, the tipped scales, the leaked tapes. Nights, Bourbon my confessor, I'd replay the bar brawl, his desperate swing, the crack of bone on bone. Had I pushed too hard? Pushed him to that edge? Therapy sessions with a Park Avenue shrink unpacked it, betrayal trauma, they called it, wrapped in survivor's guilt. You're not the villain, Layla, she'd say, all measured calm. But mirrors lied, showing a woman harder, hollower, victory tasting like ash. Emily flipped first, plea deals singing like a canary, Jake as mastermind, her as reluctant pawn. Court TV ate it up, her tearful testimony. He changed after the debts. I was scared, painting him the devil, me the avenging angel. But off camera, her letters smuggled to me via Ruiz. You won. But at what cost? We're monsters, all of us. I burned them, flames dancing like fireflies from childhood summers. The twist hit mid-trial, a gut-wrencher even karma couldn't script. Prosecutor called me as a witness. Character corroboration, they said. On the stand, under fluorescent glare, I recounted the murder that wasn't, voice steady as I detailed the pillow plot, the insurance scam. Jake, orange jumpsuit across the room, stared daggers, but then his lawyer approached the bench, whispering feverishly. Recess called, and in the hallway, the bombshell. DNA results from the accident scene. Not tampered brakes. A miscarriage, mine undetected, from stress and that blackout drive. I'd been carrying his child? No. Twist deeper, Jake's. A drunken hookup months before, buried in sibling shame, forgotten in grief. The courtroom erupted as it dropped. My suicide attempt, masking a pregnancy scare, his motive twisted, not greed alone, but erasure of his own sin. Incestuous shadow over the betrayal, headlines screaming family horror, forbidden fruit fuels fratricide plot. I retched in the bathroom, porcelain cold against my cheek, the world tilting. Outshone the Groom? Try overshadowed by a secret spawn. Emily knew, her pleas now poison. He couldn't face it. The wedding was escape. Jury deliberated 2 days, tension thick as fog off the lake. I waited in a hotel bar, nursing whiskey sours, toasting ghosts. Verdict: guilty on all counts, manslaughter cover-up, conspiracy to murder, racketeering. Life, no parole. Emily, 10 years, cooperating discount. As gavel fell, Jake's gaze locked mine, not hate, but hollow surrender. Forgive, he mouthed.
No.
But understanding? A bitter pill. I walked out into Chicago autumn, leaves crunching underfoot like crushed illusions, the city exhaling relief. Firm promoted me, lead on white-collar cases, irony thick, while mom's postcards brimmed with grandkid hints from cousins. Life rebooted, but echoes lingered. The what-ifs of that unborn life, the brother who'd been hero before villain. Months later, Napa Hills rolled golden under my rental's tires, the honeymoon I'd gifted, now solo redemption. Vineyard tasting room, sun-dappled, a sommelier pouring Cabernet deep as regret. My phone buzzed, Ruiz. Crews dismantled. Vet's family settled. You're clear.
Clear.
I syft, flavors blooming, tart betrayal, och en reserve.
No happy ending bow, just survival's sharp edge. But in the mirror of that chalice, I saw her, Layla 2.0, scarred but standing.
Outshone?
Hell yes. And this time, the spotlight was mine alone. Revenge wasn't triumph, it was reckoning. American saga of falls and furious rises. I'd paid the wedding bill, body and soul. But the uninvite? That was their loss. Forever.